Welcome to the podcast Lead the Future, the Alt Summer Series. Each podcast, I will ask 3 panelists an authentic leadership transformation question. In short, an Alt question. This Alt question was part of the Alt Summit's second panel discussion titled Find New Language to Create the Future. I'm Arjan Visser, a human-centered futurist, and I'm your host. The call to lead from the inside out is inseparable from the language we choose. The words we speak are not mere descriptions of our world, they are generative and acts that shape our reality. They become the architecture of our future identity. In these conversations, we explore how to find, own, and embody the very language that calls your authentic future into being. What's part of finding and owning your true voice? That's the question of this episode. Knowing that language creates our future is one thing. Finding the words that are truly ours is the journey itself. So, what is part of finding and owning your authentic voice? This conversation dives into the deep, often messy work required, from the crucial role of peers' feedback to the courage it takes to experiment with the language of who you are becoming. Let me briefly introduce my 3 panelists. Benj Street, a serial entrepreneur and innovation accelerator. Benj is the leader who creates experiences, asks bold questions, leads by example, and is always believing there are greater things or more and better things are possible. His passion lies in shaping businesses that make space for leaders to step up and for teams to step into their core identity, unlocking the full potential and stretching their vision of what is possible. Secondly, Deb Brown Maher, an eliminator of authenticity. She believes that everyone benefits when we are free to discover, activate, and actively live our true selves. Her core premise is simply yet powerful. When individuals embrace who they truly are, they are not only unlocking their own potential, but also contribute to culture, mutual respect, honor, and encouragement. Shane Pope, an international business director, and maybe even more interesting, he's a facilitator of the convergence of personal and professional life. Shane is on a mission to redefine businesses as a deep personal endeavor rooted in identity, purpose, and impact. He challenges leaders to see their work not just as a means to an end, but as a force for good that unlocks the potential in themselves and those around them. What is really part of this whole personal journey in becoming your authentic self, your leadership? What is part of finding and owning your own true voice?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it takes, and I think as we've been talking about here, it takes time. I mean, like you said, Arjan, you reflected on a 10-year journey, and I think you said it was 3 years into that journey before you could even start to articulate what was going on, and then now here you are 10 years later, and you can sort of finally express, where you're at, who you are, where you're going. These things, it takes time. And I think the language that we use and develop becomes almost an indicator of where we're at on that journey. And so it's part and parcel, I think, with our personal growth from the inside out, how we're relating to the people around us, the business that we're doing. All of that internal work. Sometimes it's really hard to access what's going on inside and figure out what's really inside of us. But I think language, working to develop a language to express that is a huge part of not only facilitating that growth, but also sort of demonstrating it to ourselves and the people around us, and then kind of becoming a catalyst really to change our lives and the lives of the people around us. To kind of step into that leadership role and persuade and help to move people in a direction.
Yeah. Benj, what's your take on that?
So there's a few things that come to mind. So one of the principles I've learned of inside out, like you got to work on the inside before you let it loose on the outside in a way. And that, on a personal development level, inside out starts with like actually changing my thinking, and changing my thinking changing my words. But then you scale that up to a family, to an organization, to a community, to society. Actually, how can we work on using that inside out? So that's kind of one of the sort of underlying principles. And then thinking about sort of some of the habits and processes, I think you've got to make this a priority. That's probably one of my big reflections. If finding out who you could become isn't a priority, it never gets to the top of the to-do list by itself. No matter how hard you work, it'll try and slip down, right? There's always something more urgent or more pressing or whatever. So I think having regular things in my diary that force me to have to show up, having done some work on it. So groups of other people who are on a similar journey in a safe space to experiment with their language. I get inspired by seeing them progress. I know that me progressing inspires them. I know from one of my big reflections when I've tried to do stuff on my own, it's fine for a while, but you run out of steam and you fall flat on your face. So walking on that 10-year journey with other people who also want to see similar sort of change and growth and development in their language and in the future, that's super powerful. But you can't just have the group, you've still got to do the work on your own. So I think that finding spaces where you can practice the nonsense language that sometimes is going to come out and that be okay, and have people on the journey who care about you, who know you well enough to go, yeah, that was a load of nonsense. That was your ego. But also to go, hang on a minute, that was really good. That really resonated. But maybe there's even a bit more, and just push you, just nudge you forward. I think that comes back to inside out for me and lead by example. So if I want the people in my organization or in the businesses that I'm working with and creating to step up and lead themselves, I've got to be doing it, and I've got to be putting in the hard graft.
Yes. And stepping up is way beyond your comfort zone. It's way, it's that, we don't want to overstep our authority, but living at 25, 30, 40% of authority doesn't make it better, So it's better to just experiment with the 90%, the 95%, the 99%, and then sometimes it's 101%. You overstepped it, but that's stepping up. I love it. Doesn't just by accident come to the surface. It's all based on intention and prioritization. Deb, what's your view on how do I own my true voice? How do I find it?
So playing on the theme of it starts on the inside, I found myself at a time in life where I met the enemy and she was me. I was the source of my predicament. And then I realized my best thinking got me to this place. So I'm out of answers because my best thinking didn't do it. And the default position that we have as human beings is if I think it, it's right. I won't knowingly hold on to a wrong thought. Once I realize I'm wrong, I change it.
Yeah.
So it brings me to highlight the need for feedback. Feedback, because I'm going to say what I have concluded, and I think I'm on target. So being able to then speak that out loud in a group of people who are listening from their unique perspectives, all of a sudden, I get different paradigm perspectives that I didn't even think of. I never considered. I don't have the experience to even be able to conjure them up if I try. So it just understanding that feedback is so important, and that our first attempt at accurately saying, using words that accurately describe what we mean, what we feel, what we intend, our first shot is never quite right. It's not enough. It's a portion. It's a hint. It's a smoke signal that there's more to be explored. And it is a process because, let's face it, we're evolving, and I have new experiences every day that are even going to shift how I perceive the same thing that I was considering a week ago, a month ago, a year ago. So I've really come to appreciate the value of the non-judgmental but unconditional feedback that gets me asking myself, is that what you really want to say? And what's the better way to say it? What's a different way to say it? What's a different expression? And what is going to reach the most people? Because everyone comes from their unique perspective. And there is no way I will ever know your perspective because it's yours. So feedback, the importance of receiving, someone reflecting back what they hear when I say what I say.
Yeah. Yeah. If I just listen to you all three, it just gets me on stage to talk about it for hours, but let's not do that.
It's your birthday, you can do what you want.
Yeah, I know, but you're not furniture, it's your brilliance that you accumulates to something really beautiful. It's your thinking in your head. It needs to come out. But external processing, I hear it a lot. It's optional. Some people do it, some don't. Listening to you guys, it's not optional. First of all, it sounds different out of your mouth than in your head. You need that feedback.
Right.
Then you need other people to react on it. That gives feedback. And that all builds it up from that idea that you have in your head that is always right, because else you have already abandoned it, to being polished as a diamond that is uniquely you and starts to crystallize in that way what your authority is and what it's not. And having peers around you that know you and know to push your buttons in a non-judgmental way, that really triggers, because then the diamond is not only polished, it starts to grow.
I think, as well as working out what is your identity, what is your voice, what is your language, your stuff to create, however you want to frame that, it's also really helpful to identify what's not you, that has had residency in your head for whatever period of time. The other voices, and I don't just mean little voices, but the things that all of us have taken on because of circumstance, hurt, failure, whatever your past situation is, that you come over time, you come to believe is you and is your voice. And it's only as you start to speak it out, in front of other people, particularly peers who will push you and challenge you, that you realize, oh, hang on a minute, that really isn't me.
The dialogue doesn't end here. It's your invitation to continue the journey. I invite you to engage with your own insights below, or to step directly into the Alt Forum with us. The Alt Forum is our weekly, thought-provoking space for the forerunners, forward-thinking leaders and pioneers who are ready to catalyze their authentic leadership transformation. I will share how you can experience this powerful forum first and decide later. The link is in the description. Just use it and book your own experience. The link is alt.businessrevivalist.com/forum. I like to share with you the gemstones that I wrote down. Your language is an indicator of where you are on the journey. Language is not just a tool, it's a mirror. How we express ourselves reveals how far we have come in embodying identity, clarity, and leadership. This makes inner growth visible and trackable. Second one is, it's inside out. First the thinking, then the words, then the world. Benj connects the sequence of transformation, from mindset to language to impact. It's the backbone of a sustainable change and at the core of the authentic leadership transformation principle. Identity precedes expression. The next one is, if discovering who you could become isn't a priority, it will never make the list. Benj calls out passive leadership. Finding your voice requires a proactive commitment, time, intention, and practice. It's not urgent, but always essential. You need a space to speak nonsense without judgment, I like that one, and still be heard. Feedback loops refine clarity. This is a masterclass in peer mirroring. The sacred practice of evolving your voice in the presence of trusted peers. Your best thinking got you where you are, and it's not enough to take you further. Radical self-awareness in one sentence. Deb challenges the myth of self-sufficiency. You must upgrade your thinking to grow beyond your current self. Our first attempt is never quite right. It's just a smoke signal of what's really there. This is a poetic and powerful truth about language as iteration. Finding your voice is not one big aha moment. It doesn't of its fragile, half-formed expressions being refined over time. Another one is, feedback isn't correction, it's expansion. Deb frames feedback as the mirroring potential, not fixing mistakes. This perspective turns feedback into fuel, essential for leaders stepping into their full expression. I want to thank the panelists, Benj, Deb, and Shane, for their richness, their deep insights, their vulnerability, and the wisdom they shared with us. I also like to thank you for tuning in, and I'm looking forward to read your insights, your comments, your questions, and I really want to urge you to step into who you are becoming. And the best way that I can help you is to invite you to experience the alt form, the place for forerunners, forward thinking, feedback loops. So I give you the link. It's in the description. And use this link to just plan, schedule, book your experience. Join the alt form, experience it first, decide later. The link is alt.businessrevivalists.com/forum.